All right, folks, how you doing? Welcome back to the Mars Mystery. Disclaimer, as always, under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976, blah, blah, blah. You know the deal by now, I'm sure. This is The Darkness and the Light, The Moon in June, Part 1. The Moon in June. So Hancock writes, on 20th of June, 1178, 5 friends were sitting out after dark on the outskirts of Canterbury. The sky was cloudless, and a bright new moon was rising with its horns tilted towards the east. Then suddenly, the upper horn split in two. A flaming torch sprang up, spewing out fire-hot coals and sparks. The moon throbbed like a wounded snake. Afterwards, it resumed its proper state. Quote, this phenomenon was repeated a dozen times or more, the flame assuming various twisting shapes, then returning to normal. The moon from horn to horn took on a blackish appearance. The writer is the 12th century monk Gervase of Canterbury, whose chronicle is highly regarded as a work of history. Hancock speculates that if this is a true report, then what is it truly describing? Quote, in 1976, the American astronomer Jack Hartung offered an answer. Gervaise's eyewitnesses saw the cataclysmic effects of a collision between the moon and some large object, a comet or asteroid. If he was correct, then there ought to be a crater impact. Such a geologically recent crater would be at least 7 miles in diameter. The crater Giordano Bruno perfectly fits Hartung's bill. It has a radius of 13 miles and the telltale bright rays of a recent cataclysmic event. It lies almost 15 degrees into the dark side of the moon. The ejecta from the impact would have been hurled such distances that, quote, the event would have been sufficiently apocalyptic to have justified the description in the Canterbury Chronicle. Hancock states that the moon behaves oddly, like a huge bell after it has been clanged. Victor Klube of Oxford University and Bill Napier of the Royal Armagh Observatory concluded, quote, the result can only be explained by a recent large impact whose magnitude was about that required to form the Bruno crater. He continues, the crater was made by an object estimated to have been around 2 kilometers in diameter, which exploded on impact with the energy roughly equivalent to 10 times the explosive power of all the nuclear weapons on Earth. The Canterbury events could have wiped out civilization. Tunguska. So on 30th of June 1908, a much smaller object did hit Earth. The event that flattened more than 2,000 square kilometers of forest in Tunguska. It was an airburst involving the explosive fragmentation of a bolide with an estimated diameter of 70 meters. The bolide, descending as a huge fireball, was brighter than the sun and was said to have emitted a series of intense thunderclaps. We have heard this before. Quote, the firestorm rapidly fell from the atmosphere to the ground, but as soon as contact was made, a raging column of fire leapt up again from ground to sky. This fiery pillar was visible as far away as 400 kilometers. Hancock further states that, quote, the impact energy of the blast was at least 700 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. Hancock reflects that the object that caused the Tunguska event was, quote, rather tiny by cosmic standards. He also states that because the explosion occurred in a very remote area, it was mostly ignored. Quote, it was not until 1927 that the first scientific expedition reached the site. It is therefore sobering to recall that if the Tunguska object had collided with Earth just 3 hours later, it would have exploded over Moscow. Such an accident would have changed the course of world history. Well, indeed. I can think of one person, one historical figure, who would have been positively elated by such an impact. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us, and see you the next time. Take care.